Essentially, critical thinking is about making sure that you have good reasons for your beliefs. What does that mean? So suppose that you and your friend are talking about who's going to be at tonight's party. And she says to you quite confidently, Monty won't be at the party. You're not sure whether or not to believe her, so it would be natural for you to follow up by asking, why do you think so? And there are a lot of different things that she might say in response. We're going to talk about 3 possible answers she could give. First, she might say, I can't stand him and I want to have a good time. Second, she might say, well, he's really shy and he rarely goes to parties. And third, she might say, he's in Beijing and it's impossible to get here from Beijing in an afternoon. The first response that she gives you does not give you a good reason to believe that Monty won't be at the party. The second reason, though, is a good reason to believe that Monty won't be at the party. If he's really shy and rarely goes to parties, then it's probable that he won't be at tonight's party. Similarly, the third reason also gives you a good reason to believe that Monty won't be at the party. If he's in Beijing and it's impossible to get here from Beijing in an afternoon, then it's guaranteed that he won't be at the party. And when you notice things like that, when you distinguish between good and bad reasons for believing something, you're exercising your critical thinking skills. So critical thinking is making sure we have good reasons for our beliefs. And so one of the essential skills that you learn when you're studying critical thinking is how to distinguish good reasons for believing something from bad reasons for believing something. Now, it's worth saying something about how I'm using the term good here. I'm not using it to indicate anything having to do with morality or ethics. So it's not morally right or morally good to believe something on the basis of good reasons. Similarly, it's not morally wrong or evil or wicked to believe something on the basis of a bad reason. Rather here, what it is to say that a reason is good is closely tied to the notion of truth. So a good reason for a belief is one that makes it probable. That is, it's one that makes the belief likely to be true. The very best reasons for a belief make it certain. They guarantee it. So why does this matter? Well, the reason that critical thinking is important is because since we're rational, we want our beliefs to be true. Rational people want to have true beliefs, and they want not to have false beliefs. And the best way to be rational in this way is to form beliefs only when you find good reasons for them.
Well, my first thought was maybe they don't have a lot of formal education. But personal experience has shown me that formal education is no shield against shoddy thinking. Next, I thought maybe they just don't have good information. And then my final thought was maybe those people are just gullible. I was surprised to find out that that's a word that doesn't appear in any dictionary. Let me talk about some historical examples of bad thinking. This is Charles Ponzi. He was a charming Italian immigrant to the United States in the 1920s. And he had an amazing new investment idea. Word got around about this idea, and investors poured their money in. What Ponzi would do for you is if you parked your money with him for 30 days, he would return it with up to a 50% increase just 1 month later. So again, that became a very popular idea. Well, people at the time didn't realize that Ponzi was the inventor of what's now known as a pyramid scheme, also known as a Ponzi game. But until they realized that, a lot of people made a lot of money right up until they didn't when the scheme collapsed. Ponzi went to jail for a brief time and then was deported back to his native country. Perpetual motion machines have held a real fascination for inventors for the last several hundred, if not 1,000 years. The idea of extracting free energy somehow is a very, very lucrative and seductive one. Now, to do that, you have to play with the laws of thermodynamics. Everybody know the laws of thermodynamics, right? You can't win, you can't break even, you can't get out of the game, right? So, that said, perpetual motion machines tried to defy that through clever systems using magnets and waterfalls and siphons and gravity and counterweights. They purport to extract free energy from the universe somehow. The patent office of the United States government was so besieged by applications for these things that finally they said, no more. Stop bothering us unless you can bring us a working model that you can park out in our outer office where it will run for 1 year with no intervention. And since then, applications have been way down. This is a rendition of snake oil. Snake oil is kind of a catch-all term from the last 100 years or so ago. Pre-FDA, Food and Drug Administration, anybody could put anything in foods or drugs, and they frequently did. A real popular ingredient in cough medicines at that time was laudanum. Now, laudanum, we now know is morphine, which is an extremely effective cough suppressant.
Of us prone to cognitive biases, to prejudices, and to the blinding effects of privilege and in-group psychology. We like to think of ourselves as, really quite objective and clever, but the unfortunate truth is that we are all, to some extent, flawed, ignorant, and deluded, which, sounds not good. But happily we can do something about it by learning critical thinking skills. What critical thinking teaches us is how to question things rigorously, how to form sound, well-reasoned, coherent thoughts and arguments, and critically, how to identify bullshit. But perhaps the most important thing it teaches us is that it's good to be wrong, that the ideas we hold aren't us, and that we don't need to defend them to the death. And in fact, that we can change those ideas and that it is absolutely liberating to do so. It's something really fundamental to how we approach the world, to have the vulnerability and the humility to be receptive to the idea that I might be wrong, you know? It's profoundly transformative. And when we're trained as critical thinkers, something significant shifts because we become aware of our own thinking. Why do I think this? How have I come to this conclusion? We become, quite literally, self-aware. Thesis that creative and critical thinking are two sides of the same coin, two parts of an equation that add up to how to think. And what's really interesting is that something happens when a mind is trained to think both creatively and critically, because that equation adds up to more than just the sum of its parts. There is a seed of genius, there is a fertility of understanding that allows a mind to grow to such great heights when it's able to think creatively in dynamic interplay with thinking critically. When those two aspects of our ability work together, amazing things happen. Da Vinci moments born from the cognitive alchemy of a mind that is free to play and explore, yet also disciplined to apply reason and rationality. And such a mind is also a fortress of understanding. It's largely impervious to the lies and the nefarious manipulations of politicians, the media, and the advertising industry. So a couple of years ago, I was teaching my own boys about logical fallacies, which is an area of critical thinking. And it occurred to me that maybe I could use my advertising powers for good instead of evil. Right? Now, fallacies are essentially like flaws in reasoning, and I wanted my boys to be aware of some of the more common ones, like the appeal to nature fallacy. But all the explanations I'd read online were these just impenetrably dense academic walls of text, you know? And so I did what I do at work when I'm given a 12-page communication strategy that I somehow have to fit onto a billboard that someone can read as they drive past in the car. I simplified. I tried to come up with some clear explanations and examples, and we could talk about in the car on the way to school in the morning, which was actually a really fun exercise. And I ended up putting together a poster with 24 of the most common logical fallacies, each with a single simple sentence that clearly explained the concept, right? And then it occurred to me that perhaps the same idea could work well online, you know, and I could share it with other parents, teachers, and the world at large. And so, with the help of some programmer friends, we came up with a Creative Commons website at yourlogicalfallacyis.com. The idea was that if you saw someone committing a fallacy online somewhere, you just link them to it. So if someone was misrepresenting an argument, you just link them to yourlogicalfallacyis.com/strawman, right? So probably the best way to explain this is to show you an example from the site. So this one's false cause, in which we presume that a relationship between things means that one is the cause of the other. So for example, pointing to a fancy chart, Roger shows how temperatures have been rising over the past few centuries, whilst at the same time, the number of pirates have been decreasing. Thus, pirates cool the world and global warming is a hoax. So you get the idea. We also made the PDF available as a poster, the poster available as a PDF that anyone could download and print out for free. So we launched in 2012, and yourlogicalfallacyis.com blew up. It was tweeted by the likes of the lovely Mr. Stephen Fry, PC Myers, Wikipedia's Jimmy Wales, our own Dr. Carl, amongst thousands of others. It was featured on sites like Boing Boing and Upworthy, melted our servers, front-paged on Reddit, attracted over 3.5 million unique visitors, and is currently the top logical fallacies site online. It's getting around 10,000 unique visits a day, and most awesomely, the poster is currently being featured in many thousands of classrooms and other kids' bedrooms all around the world. So, you know, thanks. So that went quite well. It was surprising, it would seem that making educational resources simple, fun, and free is a good idea, right? So, what now? Well, what if we did the same kind of thing, but on a much bigger scale? What if we created a platform that allowed teachers to teach critical thinking, that allowed any student to be able to learn about philosophy and creative thinking? What if we created a platform where anyone where anyone would have access to resources on thinking? So just recently we launched the School of Thought International at schoolofthought.org. The purpose of the School of Thought is to help us question all schools of thought. What it is a not-for-profit online school where anyone can learn creative and critical thinking skills for free. The content, courses, tools, apps, games, and resources that we create will be available for everyone to use under a Creative Commons license, from primary school teachers through to university philosophy departments and any student of any age anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And what if instead of flat images and walls of text, we took the liberty that an online school can take and created a fully immersive 3D campus designed to be a living vision of an enlightened learning utopia writ large in the virtual space? And what if what if we could actually help change our school system? I mean, why are we teaching kids what's on the periodic table of the elements, but we're not really teaching them why science is important? About philosophy of science, or how to read journalism with a critical mind, about how taking evidence-based approaches help take us from the dark ages into this golden age of progress and technological wonder. I mean, how many lectures does the average student receive at school about following the rules, and yet we don't teach them ethics? We don't teach kids how to understand and internalize the difference between right and wrong. We just tell them, don't do that, that's wrong. And then we yell at them if they transgress. And we teach kids how to make extremely ugly shorts in home ec. But perhaps, teaching them about logic and reason might be at least as important life skills in this information age, you know? What if schools incorporated thinking as its own subject into their curricula? Is that such a crazy thought? I mean, what if we spent as much time teaching kids how to think for themselves as we do on English, math, or any other subject? Not only would this be great for kids in all aspects of their learning and life, and the future of our species, it will also mean that people with degrees in philosophy will finally be able to get a job.
So, you want to make sure that you're getting the right information, and you need to be aware of the fact of all the factors that go into your evaluation of the information, the evaluation of the information, so that you can do a better job of watching out for yourself, guarding against bad data, siphoning out, separating, and leaving yourself with just good information that can lead you to, in the best way possible, possibly the best answer, right? If you've got lies and propaganda in your political evaluation, you're not going to pick the person that you want to pick. And I'm not here arguing to say that if you thought that Trump was your choice, then you messed up or you're the victim of propaganda or bullshit or lies, because I don't think that way. No, I believe you me. There's certain things that are 2 + 2 = 4. Okay. There's certain things that are simple and verifiable like that. But the majority of what we deal with is a lot more complex, which means it's that much more important that we're aware of all the factors that go in to finding the best data set, the best information to guide our opinions. And one of the things that we need to be aware of is not just the external factors, the fact that we can be lied to, the fact that the data or information or opinion can be manipulated by others. We also need to be aware of the fact that our own biases can lead us to picking the wrong information to render our opinions upon or make our decisions about. So this is an act of public education. This is an attempt to look at one real-world example of how Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666, a man who is very big on YouTube and very important to a particular community, is a schmoo, an idiot, a moron that you shouldn't listen to. Not because he's a bad person, but because he's uninformed. He's ill-informed. He gives bad information out on a consistent, constant basis. He's overly confident in his worldview and his opinion. The message needs to be put out there so that people can understand why, using this real-world example, we can see and evaluate and understand how there might be biases that we have that inform our evaluation of information and data, and how we need to be real with ourselves. Not think of ourselves as being this enlightened super being who makes the right decisions all the time, but being aware and staying grounded in the fact that we are fallible human beings. And we're simple human beings, right? We're nice monkeys with big brains, okay? And just like monkeys with big brains, some of the things that we think are the most well-informed decisions that we make are actually just the product of bias, okay? Why is Sticks, Hex, and Hammer so huge? Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, along with a lot of the internet pundits that we talk about on the right, on the left, in Gamergate, started their channels in 2007 at the dawn of YouTube. That when things like Gamergate or this political movement or energy started getting going, they were already set up to be in a position, not because they were the wisest people when it came to politics or sociology or atheism or cosmology or theology, not because they were the most learned people in that field, but the most expert and informed opinion. No. They were just the person set up at the right place at the right time so that the random factors of fate smiled upon their channel and allowed their channel to grow, where other people may not have experienced that same thing. We also need to be aware of the fact that, unfortunately, people may think that they're great at evaluating and making the right decisions about how to spend their time on YouTube. But unfortunately, we need to be aware of the fact that the people that are often the biggest names in political analysis, in sociological analysis, in ethno-state national or realism or whatever the case, however you want, or libertarianism, whatever, or atheism, are not being tuned into by thousands and thousands of people because they're smart, educated, well-informed, and erudite when it comes to the expression of this stuff. No, oftentimes, they're the most entertaining. Right. Do you really think that TJ, the Kirk, the amazing atheist, is the most informed individual on YouTube when it comes to the history of atheism, the various arguments regarding atheism, the educated explanations of atheism, the conversion of believers to non-believers? Do you think that's the case? That's not the case. He's a fat-ass loudmouth who's entertaining and screams and this, that, and the other thing. And just like our boy Stick Six and number 666, before the big atheism push came, he was doing other things. He was on Blip TV. He was talking about media. He was talking about comic books and movies. And then he got his role. Same thing with Cult of Dustin. Same thing with Shoe on Head or Armored Skeptic. So I can be fair to the people on the right or the people on the left. There's a lot of these people that are just entertaining douchebags. And I'm willing to concede that there might be aspects of my success that are tied to that energy as well.
The fight for your mind, opinion, clicks, views, watch time, it's here. Some think that the cash grab for your attention is an innocent circumstance of capitalism, advertising, viral marketing. But some have a different opinion that's almost conspiratorial. That there is more behind this viral frenzy to get your eyes on them. Mindbender by UNIRock. It's innocent at first glance to find something you can do to showcase your talent or profession into videos. Since those videos get watched, if you let companies pay to advertise in the beginning or throughout, you can give a piece to the creator to not only show them thanks for the process, but to motivate them to keep creating. So a lot of people that saw the internet as a place to showcase what they could do with a camera and a computer started becoming popular.
I make YouTube videos every day where I upload on my channel where I play video games and I try to entertain at the best of my
I'm a social media creator, I'm an actor, and I'm also an entrepreneur.
The whole thing with YouTube has grown so much lately.
Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. A lot of people were going about their daily lives and noticed that the people making the videos that got a lot of views were making a lot of money. They noticed their lifestyle got better. And they noticed some people that were all about the money started singing about it, showing it off, thrusting it into people's faces. And it attracted a lot more people to the platform. Just by simple logic, we can say to ourselves, people with talent are people that shine above the normal. It's something extraordinary. And for it to be extraordinary, or extraordinary, however you choose to pronounce it, it must have something extra on top of the ordinary. But that's pretty obvious. But what happens when a lot of people who don't have something extra jump on to the platform? They have to fake it. And they did. So much that people started noticing. So it became hard to accomplish their task of getting views and clicks just by doing anything. They had to get, ironically, creative. It's the ultimate irony, by the way. Someone lacks creativity, the thing that drove the people to start this out in the first place. So they end up having to get creative in faking creativity to keep the clicks rolling in. Murphy's Law. Over the next couple episodes, we're going to look at truth channels and how they fit this mold and how conspiracy channels sometimes also do. The difference between channels that are trying to present information that relates to now and reveal something and channels that are attempting to entertain by presenting these facts, opinions, or theories. And we're also going to look at how the viewer themselves takes this the wrong way sometimes and mixes the two up. Thanks for watching. On this show, we tend to focus on specific conspiracies and mysteries. But in each episode, I try to show you that things may be completely different than what they seem. Conspiracy theories themselves create a thing that I've come to call the condition of conspiracy. I think it's a real phenomenon, and I'm going to try to prove it to you right now. And it is created with a few factors. But the first, we'll start with the echo chamber.
He will refuse any critical comments to be posted on his WordPress site.
That's really common, though.
Yeah.
It's really common with people. The war of ideas in the comment section, that's where it's being fought.
Yeah, it's because it's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
It's like people don't look as, why do people think the world is flat, or why do people think dinosaurs don't exist? Their Google Boolean search is, dinosaurs don't exist.
The echo chamber, it's a thing that happens when you try to prove a point, a conspiracy, or a thought. You try to prove it by just using evidence that does prove your point. Instead of going to the other side, being unbiased, maybe showing evidence that could go against what you say, or even just considering it, people that are creating an echo chamber are using only the evidences that proves their point, showing it in a very attractive way, and getting people to think and change their mind on certain things, like even the way the earth is shaped. Now, I'm not going to use that conspiracy as an example because I feel that it comes from a religious place. Most people who do use flat earth as a valid conspiracy theory say that the reason is mostly because of religious battle between good and evil and such other things. So we're not going to go there, but I do have a conspiracy that's come up recently that's linked into a lot of things that we've talked about that I can show you, I think will prove my point, and also give a great example of an echo chamber. Because once you realize what an echo chamber is and how it's presented to you, very, very quickly you can dismiss a lot of things you see, especially on YouTube or the internet. A really quick example at first. If you take a look at Jim Carrey, it's coming back up again that he's a member of the Illuminati. I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that it could exist, and I'm not trying to verify it. I'm just showing you an example of an echo chamber. Follow me here. So Jim does a video where he mocks this whole hand signal Illuminati thing. Back in 2014, Jimmy Kimmel Live, it's got a lot of views. He does this. A lot of conspiracy theorists grasped onto this. Now they know that he's mocking this, and they're not. I'm not saying this is an example that he's not in the Illuminati because he's joking. I'm saying that it could be a reason why he does this, as you see here. Now, that's not what I want to show you. What I want to show you is if I was just to present to you some still images of him throwing up Illuminati symbols, it could convince maybe not you, but a lot of people that he's in the Illuminati. Another video goes as far as to say a lot of things about Jim that I'm not going to repeat out loud for fear of the YouTube bots destroying me and ripping me to pieces. But as you can see in this video, this person goes as far as to make a lot of assumptions about Jim. I watched the video and I could see that he wasn't throwing me a lot of evidence, and I noticed he debunked himself in his own video. So he uses a very faint scar that you can barely see right here when the child is very young. And I'll show you a picture of Jim now. But anyway, he says that Jim has an implant in his chin, and that's what makes his chin so prevalent. You can go back, and it's surprising because it's in this video. There are several pictures of Jim as a kid with the scar. If I go back, he centers in on this. You can see the scar here too. And he centers in on this in this exact frame to say that Jim has a chin implant, and it's because of these reasons right here. What I'm showing you not is this whole fact. This is not what matters. What matters is the fact that he has put out an echo chamber by only showing topics that prove his point. But the echo chamber is repeated and actually works if you read the comments. That's what I want to show you. If you go down, not just on this video, but many videos by this same person, you'll see that these people only need this much evidence to believe something enormous about a person. Some people don't like celebrities, I know this, and they're really quick to believe anything that makes a celebrity look bad or that makes a celebrity look evil. Because of certain things that have happened to them in the past or certain things they've heard about other celebrities, and I get it. But I still have a hard time myself realizing that some of these people are willing to think these things about another person without definite evidence because of one fact. If somebody were to say this about them, they would be very upset. And I'll go as far as to say they would be outraged. You can even go as far as to research this for yourself, which I encourage you all to do. Just be careful where you get your information. You know how it works. YouTube journalism. You can find this, LA Times, YouTube journalism. In the beginning, it talks about videos that are put out that do not show what they're claiming to show, but after getting millions of views and bouncing around the internet in a trending fashion, they change millions of minds to believe what they show. Let me read you a part of this. 15 years ago, the world marveled at the, quote, CNN effect and believed that the unblinking eyes of TV cameras beyond the reach of censors would bring greater global accountability. These expectations were to some degree fulfilled. Since the early 90s, electoral frauds were exposed, democratic uprisings, famines, wars, but the YouTube effect will be even more powerful, it says. This phenomenon is amplified by a double echo chamber. One echo is produced when content first posted on the web is re-aired by mainstream TV networks. The second echo occurs when these clips, until now, gain a permanent presence through websites such as YouTube. Bloggers and activists everywhere are recognizing the power of citizen-produced and web-distributed videos as the ultimate testimony. But YouTube is a mixed blessing. It is now harder to know what to believe. How do we know that what we see in a video clip posted by a, quote, citizen journalist is not manipulated montages? How do we know, for example, that the YouTube video of soldiers crying and praying while under fire was filmed where they say and not staged somewhere else to manipulate public opinion? The more than 90,000 people who viewed it in the first 10 days of its posting will never know. Governments are already feeling the heat of the YouTube effect, and cracking down online, and you guys know this is true. We feel like this is a direct effect of an echo chamber that they can't stop because of how big YouTube really is. We'll get into this a little more in the next couple videos. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys.